Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Brookside Cemetery. And I'm excited to say this is our third year for laying of wreaths for our veterans on the graves of those laid to rest here in Stow. Today, the ceremony will consist of some opening thoughts. We're going to hear from our state rep, Kate Hogan, followed by some words from retired Air Force Colonel Martha Monroe. And followed by that, Martha will be laying the first wreath here by the main memorial. And then we'll just close with some words and then disperse of the wreaths. So with that, since the birth of our nation, that we've always had and there's always been brave men and women standing in to protect our nation and to ensure our freedom. Today we're here to thank our veterans and honor those laid to rest here in Stow. I want to thank all of you who are here this morning. It's so wonderful to see everybody here. And also to thank everyone who made a donation, the generous donations to the Boy Scouts, and thank you, the Boy Scouts, for all your help these past 3 years. But the donation through the Boy Scouts, the wreaths that were dropped off at my house from people not only in town, but I was also very pleased to see people who were out of town who had dropped some wreaths off. And some very generous donations by Mistletoe Tree Farm, Taproot Tree Farm, as well as Honeypot. All of these donations have allowed us to place 326 wreaths today, which is the highest number we've had. So with that, I'm very, very happy. But most importantly, we want to thank all who have served and continue to serve, putting the needs of our country over their own. So thank you all. So with that, I would like to introduce and pass the mic over to Representative Kate Hogan.
Thank you so much, Deb. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. This is officially a crowd. I think that's pretty magnificent. Thank you, Deb Woods, for putting this together, this being our third year. Here, the Boy Scouts, Mistletoe, Taproot, Honeypot, thank you all for your generosity and all the other folks that gathered wreaths together. Welcome to all veterans here and their families. As is typical in Stow, the community stood up and said, how can we help? Came together, and we take this opportunity to honor, remember, and teach. For certainly, it is important to remember and honor their service, but to teach the next generation that we are always one generation away from losing our democracy, that it is always those who step up, that make the sacrifice, that invest above family and above their own needs to a greater cause, and that is our liberty and our freedom. And so we stand humbly here today to honor those who rest, both as veterans and those who have given the last breath in service to our country. So on these days, these holidays, let us remember and let us thank them and let us teach those that come after us that freedom comes at a cost, and we remember them all today. It is my great honor to introduce retired Colonel Martha Monroe, retired Air Force Colonel, Martha Monroe.
Thank you, Kate, and thank you, Debbie, for putting this on, and thank all of you for being here today and helping out. If you don't know me, I am the Veterans Grave Committee Chairman. Each year we celebrate Memorial Day with a fantastic service here, and it's a time for us to remember our veterans. A few years back, Debbie proposed doing the Wreaths Across America and helping to celebrate our veterans in that way as well during this time of year. When we think of this time of year, we think about our family, we think about love, we think about peace, and the joy of the season and what it brings to us. We have the love of the spirit of whatever the holiday during this time of year is that you want to celebrate. We gather together. It's a time for us to spend some time with family after a crazy year, and it's a peaceful time where we can just relax, rejuvenate, and get ready for the next year. So when we think about that and we think about our veterans and how do we celebrate them during this time and how do we relate that to being out here today placing wreaths upon their grave, I'll tell you that it's very similar. First off, many of these people, the men and women that are laid to rest here that we're going to place wreaths on today, died for a love of their country and for what they believed in. Also, many of them may not. They may have just been veterans. Either way, they had to leave their family, and they left their family often. They may had to have deployed, and so I'm sure that they were thinking about their family all the time. And then finally, the peace of people, when they think about military, they think about war, but it's really not about war. What they are is peacekeepers. So it's the peace of the nation, the peace of the world that they're really fighting for. So in that, we celebrate them today, and we celebrate what they gave to the country, what they gave and sacrificed with their families, and the love that they had for their country and all of you. So I'm going to turn it back over to Deb now, and I will lay the first wreath.
Thank you, Martha. So, Martha, why don't you take care of the first one? Thank you. Thank you, Martha. Again, thank you all for coming. What we have done is around the various spots around the cemetery, both here over to my left, your right, and up by the gazebo, we have put piles of wreaths. What we would like is to really extend to everyone, please go and pick up a wreath and place it on the grave. What I ask you to do is to place a wreath on a grave that has an American flag that already may not have a wreath. If there's already a wreath on it, we ask you to move it over to, take your wreath over to another grave. What I would like you to do before you put the wreath on the grave, if you can kind of fluff up the bow, make it, because some of them have gotten kind of compacted in transport. So if you could fluff up the bow and just make it look better, that would be great. And we would also like you to please say the name of the veteran as you place the wreath down and thank them for their service. So with that, I do thank everybody for coming today, for Representative Hogan for her words, for retired Colonel Martha Monroe for her words, and again, thank you all for your generous donations as well as your time here. Thank you very much.